I'm sorry, that is the ambassador for Tanzania in the United States.
Oh.
She came to visit our campus a few months ago. But that's not the PowerPoint I wanted to use. How are you, everybody? I'm so excited to be here. There's a lot of energy in here. How do I do this? I have my own. So no, I can use yours. So, okay, which one progresses? Okay, great. Wonderful. My name is Lucas. I'm from Tanzania. I speak with a Tanzanian accent. So if you don't understand, let me know. The way we say things is a little different from the way you say things here. So I believe that we will go together. All right? Now, I want to thank Dr. Ray for giving me the opportunity, and Mr. Enrico for giving me the opportunity to share the story. And there's some faces we have met, and there's some faces we haven't met before. But I am your friend. I am your friend from very far. And now I am your brother. Many years ago, you left my grandpa when you were getting into a cruise ship. You left my grandfather. So I'm really excited to be here and to share a little bit about a few things that we have learned, or I have learned after coming to United States. Just a little bit about myself, just a little bit about our background. Born in Tanzania. For those who don't know where Tanzania is in East Africa. It's the North Carolina of Africa.
Wow.
Okay. So when you look at the map of Africa, the North Carolina of Africa, that's Tanzania. Okay? I'm married to Dorothy, and we have 3 kids, 16 years old, 13, and 12. So they're still in that age. Very exciting. I'm trained as a veterinary doctor and a surgeon. So I did a lot of surgical work and taking care of animals. That's my specialty. But I went ahead and did my PhD in medicine. So I could treat a little bit of humans and a little bit of animals. I love books. So I had a dream to become a doctor since when I was around 10, 13 years of age. Whenever a frog got into my way, I would dissect it. Anything came into my way which was living, I was really fascinated with medical field. And my dad used to work with railway lines. So our house was very, very close to a hub. So people traveling from deep areas of Tanzania going to the Washington of Tanzania, they will come and spend a few nights at our house before they proceeded. Every time I will have a doctor coming to our house as a little baby, as a little boy, I would stay with that person, ask them a lot of questions, started even reading their books. When I was still a 13-year-old, I started reading medicine books. So when she was talking about detoxification and the way things are working, you brought me home. Now, by God's grace, I've lived and visited and been in about 15 different countries in 3 continents. I've traveled a lot, and I love traveling. I learn a lot when I travel, and I love to learn the way people think. I didn't really study psychology and anthropology. Most of my life I was reading medicine books, so I felt like I missed wonderful things about how people think, how people live, cultures, religion, and things like that. So I love traveling. And I've been in different areas. In one part of Africa, in the Southern Africa, I lived for 6 years, and I learned a lot. Now from there I came to United States back in 2000, so I have about 13 and a half, 14 years now. And when I came, I was jobless. That's quite interesting. Like a speaker who was speaking here, you know, even Federico. Yeah. Your name is like one of my friends, Hendrico. So, Federico. Our degrees are based on the European system. Mm-hmm. So when we come to United States, we have to start all over again. It doesn't matter what you studied. So you can't believe, with a PhD in medicine, I came to United States, I had to start again. That's very humbling, you know. I was jobless for some few months, and then I found myself a temporary job. So I went there and asked them what could I do. They say there was a construction, you know, going on if I was willing to work there. And I said, sure. Are you going to pay me? They said, yes, I'll pay you. So I went ahead and worked on a construction site. And I volunteered with some few firms, especially the ones within my field. And I was sharing with a group of people that there was a job which I was working, and they would ask me about my credentials, and I would not tell them my credentials. Because once you tell them your credentials, they fire you. That's right. And yes, one time I got fired because my boss knew my credentials, and he said, oh my goodness, we are having somebody here who is overqualified, more than a pathologist who is taking, you know. And the next day I got a note I was not supposed to go back to work. And I begged them, I say, I don't care about these titles and credentials. What I want is to put food on my table. I have a little kid, I have a wife who was pregnant by then, and her credentials, she trained as an accountant. Her credentials would not count at all. And I begged them, they say, you know, according to the labor law and all the degrees you have, we're not supposed to hire you, we are underpaying you. And I said, no problem. I went back to the streets and I started looking for jobs. I did everything which you can imagine. And it was hard. Yeah, it is. This story, I love this story. My wife was cleaning tables on Pizza Hut in Clemens. That was her first job. That was the first check we got. Okay? And I cherished that check. Now, I got a job later on after a few years as a professor. I taught at Forsyth Tech for 8 years, and then I taught at Appalachian State for another 4 years before I started my own business, and now we own about 4 businesses. Now, that's just a summary of many years. There's some few things I would love to talk. Number one, let's talk a little bit about Tanzania, where I come from. And why am I doing that? I want you to know you are right now sitting and standing on the land of opportunity. Wow. The rest of the world wants to come to the United States. Come on. Because you've got everything here. Wow. On age 10, I was telling the other group, we watched these cowboy movies, people shooting each other. We loved when we were kids to watch those movies. For the first time I saw United States on a movie, I loved the country. And I said to myself, that is where dreams become true. The gentleman there said something very important. There are a lot of opportunities in this country. I wish I could have taken this group with me to Tanzania for 1 week. 1 week. show you the members of my family, show you my friends, show you the people we have gone to school together with the same qualifications I have, and look at their lives. You will go on your knees and you will close your eyes and you will say, thank God I am an American. The thing is, like Dr. Ray said, in Tanzania, in 1 month, they are about 50,000 people applying at the embassy trying to get out of Tanzania, trying to come to America. Why is everybody trying to leave the country? The way the systems are set, they're not favorable to make your dream come true. I told you I read every book in medicine. I was a medical professor and I was earning per month less than $500 as a medical professor. I loved students. I loved teaching. But I could not make my ends meet. I had big dreams. But you cannot, without resources, you cannot make your dream come true. There's so many factors which need to be put together to make your dream come true. And good news is that all those ingredients, all those things, all those opportunities are here in the United States. There is no one reason why an American should be homeless, should be poor, should not have money. And I want to challenge you seriously. You have no reason to fail in America. Why? Because look, in Tanzania, there are about 50 million people, and 50% do not have clean water. 50%, you're talking of half of the population. We are using wells, and these wells are contaminated. The sewage system is terrible. You dig a well here, and there is somebody's sewage system next. So the underground water do what? Mix. And it came to a time the city, which has about 5 million people, the city says, we cannot reticulate sewage system and we cannot provide water anymore. If you build, find your own way to get water. So I built my house there, I dig a well, somebody builds the house there, they dig their sewage system right next to my well. You talk of sickness. You talk of sickness. I know what is sickness. I've been sick so many times with malaria, I cannot count how many times. To the extent that the government allowed anybody can go to the pharmacy and write their own prescription and treat themselves. You talk of sickness. You don't know what is sickness. As a little boy, I go myself to the pharmacy and I tell the pharmacist what I want. And yes, give them the money, they give me all the drugs, I treat myself. And you don't even have enough doctors. Let's talk about education. Look at literacy level. You're talking of 30% of the Tanzanians cannot read and write. 30%, if we equate that, we estimate that, round it to 70. It means if you take 10 people, 3 cannot read and write. So how are we going to present opportunities to them? They can't even sign a check. They can't even write their own name. They cannot even do anything with the external world. And the opportunities are not there. If you are above 61, if you were born in Tanzania, we could have right now been talking about your old memories. You're supposed to be dead. Because life expectancy in Tanzania is 61 years. So everybody above 61 years is supposed to be dead if you were born in my country. So you can tell this is heaven to me. To me, this is one way before I get to heaven. I told a story, I told a joke. In Tanzania, we say it's easy to go to heaven because you believe in Jesus, you repent your sins, and you're born again, you're saved. Easy. But to come to America is so hard. So it's easy to go to heaven. A little bit about education. There are 10 universities, and all these universities put together, they can only take 1% of the population of kids who finish high school. 1%.
Jeez.
You can now tell why I am in education.
Wow.
The opportunities are not there. In the class, which I did, in my class, medical school, we were only 11 in my year. Only 11 kids out of the whole country. 11 doing medicine. And I, till now, don't know what criteria they use to pick us up. I'm not that brilliant, but I don't know, it's by the grace of God.
Yes.
It is by the grace of God. Now, Tanzania has Mount Kilimanjaro. I have to say that.
Yeah.
That's a very tall mountain in Africa, the whole of Africa, and people around the world come to Tanzania to climb and to look at the wildlife. So when you're planning your next vacation, please. Now, let me say this. Many people, when we talk of Africa, they think people there are walking naked.
Yep.
They think people are living in little small huts, you know, and because of the media has brainwashed everybody about Africa. They think it's poor people begging for money, very, very skinny, no shirt. Let me show you one of the cities. That is Dar es Salaam. That is where my mom is. You know, a city where my mom and my two sisters are. We've got twin towers. Huh? You can't see that on CNN. Anyway, Tanzania in Africa is not what you see on the TV. It's beautiful.
It is.
Wow.
And the people are friendly. But the opportunities, the governments are poor. And you all know the history. I don't need to go into those details. Now, coming to America, as Dr. Ray said, we managed to start Mount Eagle College, and we purchased the building which was owned by High Point University. So this is the building. It is 30,000 square foot. And in the building, we have an auditorium where we can train our students. We train students in areas which have to do with healthcare. So we train people to have entry-level jobs. Okay? Most of African American people, they are dropping out from college, they're dropping out from high school. So our heart goes to them. And what we do is we take somebody with a GED, we train them with basic skills. And once we train them with basic skills, We certify them, and at least they can go to the hospital and get a job. They can go to a home care, get a job. They can go to the doctor's office, get a job. And those are basic things which, you know, they give you that first step. Okay? Now, all the years I have taught at the college and at the university, I realize that there's some people who are marginalized. Okay? There are some systems which are set in such a way that you need somebody to do what? To hold your hand and put you there and help you with that first step. And we say, probably, we will be the people who give people their first step. We'll be the people who give others the wings to help them do what? Fly. Fly. That's why the college is called Mount Eagle College. Because what we do is we take people who are hopeless, people who are in projects, people who think that they cannot do it. They have been told they are dummies. They have been told they are retarded. They have been told they cannot make it. We hold them by the hand. We say, if we came from Africa, we don't speak, we don't talk the talk. We can make it in this country. You don't have a reason. And that's what I've been telling all my students. You cannot believe this. I graduated a group of students. I helped them to get a job in High Point. They came back to me, they say they cannot go to High Point. And I ask, why? They say High Point is too far from Winston Salem. And they remained jobless. I called them in my office and I showed them I have the map of Africa. And I took a pencil and I said, Tanzania is here and North Carolina is here. You're talking about 8,000 miles. I traveled 8,000 miles to get a job. You cannot go 11 miles. That's what I say. We have all the reasons to be successful in the United States. Opportunities are brought to us, and we reject them. And when I look at you, I feel like crying. I say, if my mother or my sister or my brother could have been presented with opportunities and they are begged to sign up, I mean, they could have jumped into that because everybody in Tanzania is trying to find something to do. Because there is no money. There is no money. Everybody you meet, you talk to them, what do they tell you? The sun is so hot. That's the Swahili saying, meaning I don't have money. I'm broke. That's what they say.
Remember that one?
The sun is so hot. And they're wearing a jacket. A nice jacket. And they will never take that jacket out. Because you know why? Even if it is hot and they are sweating, they will never take a jacket out. Can somebody tell me why? The thing is, the shirt is all torn out on the back. It is open. The shirt is open because of carrying heavy stuff. And they have one shirt. One. So when that shirt is torn on the back, they will find themselves a jacket. And it will be sweating. They will be, wiping the sweat. And they don't take off the jacket. They take out the jacket. There was a pastor who preached for about 5 years with the same jacket and shirt. And one day the women in the church decided to buy the pastor a shirt. And that's when he disclosed the secret. He said, all these years, you're seeing me with my jacket sweating here. It's because of this shirt. And when he took off the shirt, it was all open at the back. All open. It just had a collar and the front. That's poverty. Give them the opportunity of forever living. See what they will do. They will jump into it. Because there's nothing else to do. Now, Mr. Dudley said something very important one time when I was talking to him. He said we have to learn to be job makers and not job takers.
Come on.
That to me is very important, because once we graduate students here, most of them, we train them how to interview, how to go get some jobs. But we thought it would be nice if we create unemployment for them.
Yes.
So we train them and we hire them. So we have a home care agency, and right now we're hiring about 150 people. And you're not talking only of CNAs and PCAs, these are sitters. You're talking of people who now are nurses. You're talking of LPNs, you're talking of RNs. We are now competing with Novant. You know? We are competing with Baptists. They offer that, we offer that, and they decide where should we go. Because now we realize it's important, very important, once these people are trained into skilled jobs, to have a place and an environment where we will encourage them to think big and not to become slaves. And we're not afraid of competition. We're not. Because we know exactly what we're doing. I know my time is gone, so let's go quickly. Am I supposed to talk a little bit about the fund?
Yes,
A few years ago, 2 years ago, we had a company which was supposed to help us with business funds. And this company out of Shallua did a terrible job. They made us lose about $25,000. These are business funds. So the home care side and the college side, I mean, they were terrible. And I get so angry with this company because our clients will fall down and they will call us to send people, to send nurses, and the telephones were done. You know, nobody to call 911 because we could not communicate with 100 and some employees who are in the field. And I said, this cannot happen. This is not supposed to happen. I called this company, they say we will come after 3 days. They can't fix it, they went. After 2 days, the phone system broke down again. I called them, they say we're scheduled to come to see you after a week. So 1 week without phones. Can you stay a day without your cell phone? So I went ahead and started studying the engineering of these business phones. So it took me 3 weeks, and on the 4th week, we managed to put together a software, and we managed to put together a system which happened to help us at the home care and at the college and at my house. And since then, we had no problems with telephone system. Now, right now, we thought, you know what? We can make this system available to small businesses which want business services. So we are now going public. I'm installing phones, and we can talk more if you want. If you own a small business and you want subsidized price. Our system, after I replaced this Charlotte company, we cut the cost more than a half. More than a half.
Wow.
They were charging us a lot of money. I wish, like, telling you, they were charging us about $2,000 a month.
Wow.
With all the extensions that we had. And with these phones, once I replaced it, everything, it cost me right now like $900.
Wow.
That is the story about the phones. Now, what is the lesson for me? If you work me in the middle of the night and you ask me, Lucas, what are the lessons you have learned since when you came to the United States? A lady asked me, what's your perspective of African American in the United States? This is what I will say. Number one, an open mind. When I was jobless, I went to church. They say everybody who is in trouble, I go to church. I go to church all the time. But this particular Sunday, I was so frustrated, discouraged, and I was praying like the whole night. And then I went to church, and I don't know what happened, but I was there in front when they were praying for people. I don't even remember listening to that song. And there is this Hispanic brother, Hispanic like he was an associate pastor. He asked me, "What do you want me to pray for you?" That was very sweet. You know, these days they don't ask, they just pray for you. Challenge the pastors. But he asked me, "What do you want me to pray for you?" And I just said one thing: I want a job. That's what I told him. He looked at me. My shoes were finished, and I could not replace my shoes. And he paused and he said, "I want to say something before I pray for you." And this is what he told me. And I wrote it in my heart. I will never forget that. He said, "Keep your mind open and keep your eyes open. Because you do not know how God is going to answer your prayer. Opportunities are going to come your way. You have to have an open mind, number one, to know that this is an opportunity. And you've got to have eye. You have to have that eye to say, this is an opportunity, and I have to seize it immediately. Like you talked about the Kairos moment. Some opportunities, they come once in life. They never return. That's the first thing I have learned. Most of our people, most of black people, you present them with opportunity, they don't see. They think you want to steal from them. Somebody came to me, a student, a 16 or 17-year-old girl. She was full of pride up to here, and she said, "You came from Africa. You came here to just rob our money. I want all my money back." And I looked at this young girl. You've dropped from high school. I'm trying to help you get your GED. You think this world is going to spare you? You don't even have a GED. And she was in my office like that, shouting. And I looked at her and I said, "How much do I owe you?" She said, "I paid for this class. I've gone into this class for 2 weeks. I want all my money back." I said, "Young lady, how much?" And she told me the figure. I took the check and wrote the check, and I said, "This check, you will remember it for the rest of your life because you have turned down the opportunity to save your life, to get where you're supposed to be. Because you want to go upstairs, you don't want to start with the first step." I gave her the check, and she took it, and she looked at me with that eye, and then she went. So number one, open-mindedness. Seize the opportunity. They will come. They are everywhere. Number two, get started. You know, I have learned one thing. There is nothing which is called failure. There's no failure. It is learning. It's an opportunity to do what? To learn. Just get started. Yes, you will fail so many times. Nobody promises roses that everything is going to be fine. No, you will fail. It's going to be hard. But the lesson learned from these humble beginnings are very, very important to take you to the next level. Because nothing which you have gone through is going to be wasted. Right now, I look back my experience in Africa. I look back my experience when I was jobless, when I was volunteering. Every of those experiences, I'm using them now. And when I look at some somebody who is starting, I can see myself in them. And it pushes me to help them.
Yeah.
I don't feel like being jealous because I know one time I was in their shoes. Have you met people who will never identify with what you're going through? So I believe it is divine.
Yes.
It is divine for us to start very small and then take those steps. The ancient scriptures say, who despised the days of small beginning? Those are beautiful days. That is where you develop your muscles. I was listening to Mr. Dudley's story. Wonderful. When you knock door to door, that's when you develop those muscles. Because you know what? Power and money and fame can destroy you if you're not prepared. And somebody gave us the example of people who win lottery. It's true. They don't have humble beginnings. And last thing is your partnerships and associations, and I think our last speaker talked about that. Who do you talk to? Who do you associate with? Are you associating with people who are negative? People who tell you cannot do it? People who always discourage you? People who always, pull you down? Or do you want to fly with the eagles? Fly with chickens? Where are you going to be looking? You'll be looking down. You're scratching down like chicken. That's what chickens do. They just scratch down. Their vision is so narrow. As a kid, we used to take chicken. We grew up chicken at home, You take a chicken, put their wings backwards, and then flip over the other. You paralyze them, they cannot move, and they will die right there. Put their wings back, and then flip them like that, they lock. And for some reason, the way the nerves cross into their brain, they will stay down their lane. And if you want to make it even worse, draw a line right on their face, draw a line. When we were kids, we'd do that and we'd laugh, and then after 2 hours, 3 hours, then we unlock the wings and the chicken ran away. That is the vision of people who are narrow-minded, narrow-scoped. You walk with them, they are paralyzed. They are waiting for the government to help. They are waiting for the paycheck. They are waiting. They are just sitting there waiting. But fly with people like this. They give you wings. They tell you exactly how to flip them. They might be small, but what are they going to do? They're going to be there with you. And their vision is up there. And their goals are challenging goals. And what of a goal if it challenges you to wake up in the morning and to do something which you know that otherwise you won't be able to do it? I love goals which are big. Right now, our goal is to become a university. Our goal is to compete with Wake Forest University. That's my goal. My goal is to push a university. My goal right now is to put a university in every third world country, which I can see on a map. I go to that country, they say education is a problem, I will put a campus there for the young kids. Because I know what is to apply to a university if you get a regret letter. They're saying, we love your credits are good, but we don't have space for you. Thank you so very much.